sorts because we've been recording on Riverside if you've been following the show. And so we're going back to live and in the person with Mr. Kyle King, who's joined us for the second time in the month in review. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello. Good to be here.
So we're like using these mics again, Neil. I don't know what to do with myself. This is way different.
It is, and it was nice not having to leave the house on a Thursday night. But
I
it's
bet you enjoyed that.
yeah, as an introvert, I love staying at home, but I still love hanging out with Kyle and you. Well,
So we
Kyle.
do this YouTube. Yes. What did you say? What did he? I don't need to know what he said. I don't want to know what he said. He's been ornery with me. Like for the last like few weeks. I don't know what it is. Like in our meetings and stuff, he's like, you're like, I feel like you're letting your true self fly at me. It's like
I think you're just more sensitive right
snarky.
now.
Well, that might be so.
So
That's always true. All right, let me get down to business. So this is YouTube that we record before we get to the show on Spotify, Neil, instead of Apple Podcasts and whatever. So I forget what I do with the introduction on YouTube. I think I just did it.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
it.
that was
Yeah,
it basically. We ready to go?
yeah,
All
we're
right,
ready to go.
let's go.
All right, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes, and you are finding us on October what? I'm being tested. 30, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
30,
30.
day before Halloweeny. And this is episode 333. So we got a lot of weird things kind of going on with this episode, but this is Through a Therapist's Eyes. If you happen to find us for the first time, we fire off on YouTube live at about 6:15, 6:30. It's a great way to interact with us, play along, especially when we're doing the month in review, which we are doing this week. And Mr. Kyle King is back with us, man. You done flying around the world?
Something like that. I'm back for a little bit.
You gonna stay here for a few days at
Yeah,
least?
at least for 2 more weeks.
Dude, he has been going everywhere, Neil.
That's why we didn't see you last month. I was like,
Right.
That's
what was so
exactly.
weird about this one? Because we did the Riverside. Okay, yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, we
welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
and Neil comes out behind the curtain to hang out with us for the month in review. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic.
You're not snarky,
Not at
irritable,
all. No,
only just with me.
absolutely. No, I'm perfect. I'm great.
Okay. I think something's going on, Neil. Or Kyle. I don't know. Okay, what else do I say in the introduction? Because now that we're all out of sorts, we're used to doing the Riverside, and now we're back in live in the person in the office, which is totally fun, but it's thrown me out of off kilter. We do a month in review at the end of the month where we talk about all the shows we did for that month. We have a lot to get to. We have 4 shows that we did, not 3. We
I
saved
saw
them
that.
all up for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because last month we only had 3 or 2, right, Neil? Yeah, we only had 2 because we did the whole conversation about the world. You have to listen to that one, man. We start out for the whole half hour with my new funnest topic. I'll be talking about that on the show. So, subscribe, click. We try to entertain you a little bit. We get you some information about mental health and substance abuse, and your job is to help us by subscribing, clicking, telling a friend. 5 stars. John gets upset if you don't get the 4 stars. We get the 5 stars. Contact at throughatherapisteyes.com. All that fun stuff. Listen, this is the human emotional experience which we do endeavor to figure out together. So I promised I was going to tell you guys a show or a story. This is episode 333. Does that number mean anything to you?
Not to me
You're not
personally.
into numerology at
No,
all?
no.
Ever hear anything about numbers? Like, of course,
Yeah,
666,
of course. Yeah.
right?
Stuff like that.
And then lucky number 13, lucky
Mm-hmm.
number 7 type thing. You ever hear 333 what it means, Neil?
Yeah,
What
yeah, I have.
where have you heard this before?
Well, it's usually biblical. It also goes back to the number 3 itself in the Bible, and that said 3 times is like a promise or commitment. So when you do 333, it's that triple commitment kind of thing. But there's all sorts of stuff tied to it. Yeah.
Okay, so this has always been a special number to me. Check this out. Okay. When I was a kid, okay, we lived in Ogleby, kind of Ogleby Resort is what's called now. It was a golf course. Had to walk through the golf course. We went to the swimming pool and came back and we were allowed to go out there all day long and just come back before dark, whatever. We did like the 1980s thing. And so I one day I was doing this, I was at the pool and I'm coming back and I'm walking back home and I just find a golf ball. Never think anything of it because it's a golf course, and I'm walking through the
Yeah.
woods, walking through the greens, and tees and whatever, and that's fine, But I look at it, and I'm like, okay, cool, because I sold golf balls at the time. Well, I walk a little bit further, and I got a second golf ball, and I'm like, oh, cool, this is a good day. I mean, we're getting a bounty. You don't usually find it's nothing to walk through, go home and find none. I get to the other end of the golf course, and I'm going into my neighborhood, and I got a third golf ball. I'm like, this is a little bit weird. Like, I don't, this is a lot of golf balls just to stumble upon. But then I looked at each number on the golf balls, and each number, guess what number it had on it?
The 3.
3. Each ball had a 3, and I found 3 balls
And
on
you
the way
remember
home.
that story.
Totally remember the story because I went home to my mom. I'm like, Mom, what's the deal? Like, well, this has got to be something. This is, and we looked it up. She, we talked Bible talk for that day and whatever, and she was like, we came to the idea that was perfect holiness. That's what we found that time, Neil. You said what, Neil? You found or looked up
Usually like a promise or something along those. But
commitment,
perfection, holiness, completeness. There's a lot of stuff tied to that.
right? That's a crazy day, isn't it? I mean that stuck with me, and so 333 is a big number. I don't know. I looked it up online today or yesterday. Angel number. It's a sign of growth, encouragement, and the belief that prayers are being answered. Um, Message from a higher source to trust in guidance and stay on the right path. I don't know. It was wild. So something weird, Kyle's got to happen today.
Something sounds
333,
like it.
right?
Hey, excited to be here then.
I know, right? So I don't know what we're in store for, but we got a lot to get to. On the monthly review, we start out with going down the rabbit hole. Mr. Adam Cloninger kind of started this tradition,
Yeah.
and we have decided to keep it going. And curious to see what we got. So we go down the rabbit hole with Mr. Kyle
You
King.
know, I had a theme because it was Halloween. I'm like, well, let's go down the rabbit hole with Halloween and stuff like that. But then when you sent me a text last night, I'm like, ooh, now you just like got the
Triggered
thoughts
something,
like
Neil.
turning. And you know, what I went, what kind of where I went is like with this whole evolution of AI, it's like
Wow.
how are the conspiracy theories evolving? And I'm like, okay, well, that's very interesting because you can train these models differently and such. And I started doing some research on it. Do you know there was actually a study done by American University in Cornell with AI and conspiracy theories?
I love this. I need to read this study. I'll
Yes,
tell you
it
why
is
in a bit.
very cool.
This is the
So,
best rabbit hole ever.
so,
Adam, I'm sorry, brother. We're
so
already there.
the cool thing is, and I didn't even know this. Did you know there is like a baseline for conspiracy theories index kind of thing?
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So
An
I take
indexed like
all your
topic?
take all your conspiracy theories. It's like if you believe all these conspiracy theories, there is now a baseline that you can be indexed by. So, you're ranked like 0 to 100, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is how like conspiracy theory mindset that you're looking into kind of thing. I was like, "Oh, okay." Had no idea that existed. But what they did is in this study, they took 2,000 people and they said, "Okay, we're going to present information to you based on your specific conspiracy theory that you're putting into this AI model."
Wow.
And it's called debunk bot is what it's called.
Okay.
Um,
The debunk bot.
yes. And so you go in there and you put in this conspiracy theory that you are set on, and it's
That you're set on.
in the course of this information in the conversation with this chatbot, it's basically an 8-minute conversation, and they did it for like three conversations in 8 minutes, and it presented information to the person that said, "This is why it's not real." And so after that 8 minutes, what they came away with is when they finished this study, 20% of the participants reduced their belief in this
Okay.
certain conspiracy theories.
Interesting.
And another quarter, like
25.
25% of that actually ended up being really uncertain whether or not they were even existed, the conspiracy theory even existed. So it was kind of interesting
25% of the
of the 20,
20%?
right.
Okay.
So it
So
was really interesting to read that kind of stuff. And I'm just sitting here thinking,
but
I'm
that
like,
surprises me. 80% of people kept their
yeah,
belief,
yeah,
even though they were provided information.
right. And I started doing a little bit more further research on it. And it's like, oh, well, okay, why? And it's the reason why is because they were actually presented with data.
Yeah.
And to
It
say
made an impact.
this is why this cannot be real, because think of all of these facts right here. And not only that, the
It only
chatbot,
made a 20% impact.
right. And the thing is too, the chatbot takes the emotion out of it. So somebody like me having a conversation with that same person, chatbot takes the emotion out of it. They don't have emotions. All they
Right.
did was take facts and present it to them. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
Wow.
But now here's where it gets kind of weird. Now, with the availability of these language models being freely available and that you can do on your own, you can train these models in certain ways. Well, now they're doing the opposite. They're feeding into the conspiracy theories. So
course
It's
they are.
right. So now it's, you think of social media times 10 because now you got all this information. So if you want to say something like, well, I believe the earth is flat. Well, it's going to give you all the information on why the earth is flat
Mm-hmm.
and to feed into it. These are the kinds of things. Now, again, it was just two opposite ends of the spectrum, but it was kind of interesting to read about. And I did that, after your text last night.
That's awesome. Definitely email me that. I
I
want to
will.
read that.
I will.
This is the best rabbit hole ever because I want to do the whole show on this right now. I do not want
Really?
to leave this topic.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Well, calm down.
Neil, all right, go. I'll just because if I start going, I'm gonna go. I want you to cover me with this.
Well, I think the interesting part about I think you hit on that is like only 20% actually started doubting or didn't believe, right?
Right.
So that just goes back to say, like, when people get really entrenched in whatever their conspiracy theory is or whatever belief it is, whether it's a conspiracy theory or not, when you get entrenched in something and you've made yourself believe whatever this is, even not, like you said, non-relational cold data can't even change it. Now, granted, I would say there's probably some conspiracy theorists who say, I don't trust the AI model to
Sure.
begin with, right?
Right.
That's part of it.
We saw with ChatGPT when it first came out, it was very biased towards
Oh,
one direction or another because the data that was thrown into it was around certain ideologies and certain stuff, right? Now it's gotten better as the information's gotten wider and they've kind of changed that. But I can see in that 80%, there's probably 60% of those are probably, well, I just don't trust AI anyways, no matter what's said, right?
Right.
There's
And
always that too.
Right.
But it is surprising. Only 20% shifted when they were presented the data.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weird. That's like crazy how stubborn we are as humans.
yeah.
And you know where I'm going. I'm gonna try to be brief. I really do. This I love your topic, and here's why. Because I have started to really feel like my whole industry, mental health, needs to be in the front end of this. And by this, I mean human beings interacting in total with the computer
Mhm.
world. We're all of the age, I think, in the room here. Neil, you're pretty close to, millennials and this type of thing, where we absolutely had zero computing going on
Right.
in most of our childhood and most of our whole childhood up until college. I didn't touch a computer till I was in my sophomore year when I bought my first computer in
Right.
college. But we had computer influence with VCRs and different technology started to pick up pace. I am of the belief that human beings just can't tolerate this. It's it's
Mhm.
it's wrecking humanity. And I don't mean social media. It's just
Right.
we haven't figured out how to handle the interaction with the whole
Right.
information age.
Well, people can't. They no longer know how to interact with each other.
There's that
They,
too directly.
yeah, they don't know how to handle the emotions, conversations, and all that kind of stuff when
But
it
think about
happens.
what you just came with this study. I mean, there's belief systems there that are in place. I mean, it's. I'll get off of this because I could go for a while. Real quick example though that I thought of that helps people understand this. I have this dear friend Pam, and she would get into road rage. She'd get upset, right? And she'd have her middle fingers up, but they were underneath the dashboard, right? And she's going, she's just like shooting guns because she's mad,
Right.
right? But it was underneath the dashboard. You wouldn't have your hands up above the dashboard saying bam, double deuces to somebody and be so overtly rude, because you had out real interaction. Well, we are now living down here underneath the dashboard and it's out into the world. It's just fundamentally different. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Does
Yeah.
that make
No,
sense?
it does. It does completely.
Yeah. And I don't think we can handle our behavior norms as a result. Like I don't know, we don't know how to. When's the last time you drive somewhere out of town without a maps on your phone?
Right.
I've tried to challenge myself going to Western to try and not use a map.
Yeah,
I've gone here long enough. I should know how to get there. And so I think it was
100%.
I think the last time I went, I didn't use my map. I'm like,
For you, man.
yes,
It's freedom. It's freedom.
If I've been there before, I can usually remember.
I absolutely like. I went to Jacksonville and drove down. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't know, man. I could go on and on about it. It's really, really getting me very, very concerned about our mental health. The age of loneliness, the suicide rates are skyrocketing. People's fears of missing out and
Mm-hmm.
anxieties. It's just we need even to have names for it. FOMO, like it's exploding. It's going to get way worse. That's
Oh
why I
yeah.
love your topic.
No, cool. Glad I brought a good one in.
AI is not bad, but our handling of all this is just deplorable.
Just so you know, Kyle, if you ever want to get on his good side, just have a rabbit hole about AI. He's all about it right now. So if you want him happy, do that.
Mean about the snarkiness, Kyle. What is this, man? I'm not used to this side of Neil. He's gotten comfortable with me where he just slams me now. I love it.
That was purely just a statement of fact.
It is a fact. It is a fact. All right, we did show number 1, episode 329. We got formal and informal power in relationships. We have a lot to kind of get to. I noted, especially in EFT. But I have a note that on this episode 329, we welcome Sarah A on the YouTube. Listen, we need YouTube subscribers. Tell them, Kyle, how to do it to become a YouTube subscriber. It's really, really
Really
complicated,
simple.
isn't it?
No.
I thought it was complicated.
Find the episode and click subscribe on therapist. You're through the therapist eyes. Very
We
simple.
need that because we need to grow, and we're appreciative of Sarah. So tell somebody, tell a friend. They're more likely to do that. It helps us get.
Are you subscribed to us, Kyle?
I am.
Okay,
Is
cool.
your friends?
I have
Is your
sent
grandmother?
everything over there.
Get your
I
grandmother
don't know
on.
my
How
grandmother
about your
is.
wife? Is she subscribed?
I don't
She's
know
here.
if she is.
She's not
She
going to let
might
you lie.
be.
Let me see that
I
phone.
don't know. I know I'm subscribed.
It helps us, guys. It makes a big difference, and that is our ask. But formal and informal power in relationships. I'm really curious, not from you, Neil, but from Kyle, your non-clinical mind.
Mhm.
Like, because you have a clinical mind at this point. I'm sorry, brother. Like, you're basically one of us.
Are you calling me clinical?
I am. You see
Okay.
what I mean? Of snarkiness again, though.
Yeah.
Kyle, you notice this, right? I'm gonna start pointing it out every time it happens. All right, just giving you a hard time. What does this even mean to you in your head? Formal and informal power dynamics in relationships. Does that make any sense to you, honestly?
A little bit, where I have direct control versus indirect control is kind of where my thought process goes. I don't know if that's where you're headed, but did not watch that episode, but that's the kind of thing where I think about that.
Control.
It, things that I can have direct control over, meaning um, whether it's mindset, whether it's look,
You're actually talking about locus of control issues. In psychology, we look at like
right,
internal locus of control versus external locus of control. So
got
another
okay,
different but cool phrase as well. That's not this one.
okay. All right, so
Right?
enlighten me.
Yeah. So, Neil, what did you think? So, the 3 questions were in my closest relationships, where do I hold formal power and where does my partner hold it? Formal power. So, second question, how do informal, subtle forms of power show up between us? Example, influence, emotional leverage, that sort of thing. And then, third question that we pondered when we were going through that show was when has power in your relationship felt actually balanced and when has it felt misused? So, I'm curious, what did you pick up, Neil? Formal versus informal power, like the definitions to help Kyle out with what we're even talking about.
Because we've talked about this before. So going
Yeah.
through it again was actually interesting because that's why I got kind of confused when I saw the heading. So the idea of formal versus informal power. Think of, I guess, in a formal power is easy, boss, employee,
Hmm.
owner, employee, whatever. It's parent, child, those types of. So formal powers, there's a structure to it. There's very clear in the government. There's president and everything
Right.
below that. Don't ask me to go through that. I
Hmm,
haven't been in civics for a long time.
that would be fun.
But informal power is like, say, you and Chris, where you basically have some sort of a Chris run, or even in this podcast, right? In this show, there's an informal thing that Chris runs or Chris makes
Right.
the decision because it's his podcast, which he says it's our podcast. I'm like, oh no, it's Chris. It's still your podcast. This is your thing, and I'm here to help. But that's an informal part, right? So that's interesting dynamic because in every relationship you create, there is either a formal or an informal power that happens just naturally, right? In your relationship, husband and wife, there's a informal power structure. Sometimes that power structure can shift depending on what's needed. So it's not like you're always going to be the husband's always on top of the wife. It's because sometimes the wife might, because maybe they're over the children or certain decisions, that
Well,
the wife is the one leading.
so
Especially
in
when
in 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 different cultures, actually, we have formalized power in those structures. Just to point out the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have legal laws where the man makes the decision about the family. That's formally crystallized with law. Like, so even in marriage, you can have cultures that do that differently.
Right. Or even in like my wife's case, she becomes the power of attorney, medical power of attorney. So
Right.
now she has
Right.
formal
Formal
power
power.
over her aunt and given the time. So that's the big difference with the informal and formal. And that's was like, I don't really get where you're going with this one, but I remembered as you're talking, oh, it makes sense.
That does make
So
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has just all kinds of ramifications when you start talking about how we're interacting. I mean, the key word is boundaries, right? I mean,
Sure.
these are all about how we hold boundaries, and in groups of people, we see all this stuff kind of totally flying around. I mean, now your brain probably can maybe think,
Yeah.
Kyle, about all the little different nuances of power structures, and that person who walks in the
Oh
room
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just takes
Definitely.
over.
Absolutely. I mean, you always have those kind of people, but yeah, I mean, to Neil's point is, when you think about the formal power, and you brought up a great analogy with the husband and wife, because when it came to the kids, especially when they were sick, uh, that's more on her, right? So, but when it came to like doing chores around the house, that was my directive, right? Hey, you're in control here. You need to make sure they do these things. You need to make sure they take the trash out or mow the grass or whatever
But
the
was
case
that
may be.
formal or informal?
That would be more formal for me because,
Informal. Yeah.
yeah.
There's no
So
law.
right,
There's no credence.
right.
There's
So
no, yeah.
just through the marriage of us, right? Those that kind of thing. So I can see where that would come into play. But it's right. I mean, there's always there's always a perception of, no matter who you're talking with in a conversation, there's some type of informal power somebody's going to hold in that conversation, whether it's um, their subject matter expert of a particular thing, like in your case, right? In my case, I talk computers and security. You're the therapist
You got
side,
all
right?
the informal power there, brother. That's for sure.
So there's those kinds of things too as well. That's
Mhm.
but
that's
even
how I look
looking
at it.
at peers, right? You look at you versus John Pope. I think when it comes to just and general therapy and just experience and practicality, you probably see John as informally he's above you,
Mhm.
which is weird because you're kind of the employer, so technically you're then above him. So,
I hired my
but
superior, I
and
guess.
that's
Yeah.
like in IT. I know I've worked with enough systems admin that depending on subject matter, I was the higher tech
Right.
where they were in a different application. But so it's always that give and take, and that
It is.
informal I think is more of a give and take kind of thing. Sometimes you're the one in power, sometimes you're not from a job standings.
Sure.
Now from a personal standing, that's different.
Well, personal bleeds into professional. It's just all around us. I mean, these things are kind of constantly going at it. Yeah, I hired my superior, Kyle. Made me think like I did really good of the by myself of not being the smartest person in the room. They say that.
Right. Yeah.
They say that. Don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I accomplished my goal there. It's just so much in professional relationships, work, environments, politics. When you get into your stickier points, you're really dealing with boundaries in informal power, and marriage is the loudest. That's why we focused on EFT. Episode 11, 101, 201, and 301 by design. See the numbers? Not 333. So nothing's happened yet, by the way. She's gonna like find something. Something she's designing something that happened. Kyle's wife is hanging out with us. That's gonna. I'm terrified.
She's gonna order you chicken bucket.
That's it.
Oh, I love the chicken bucket people, Neil. Don't get me in trouble. My car's already been keyed by mysterious people. I don't know what's happening. All right. Marriage, EFT, episode 11, 101, 201, and 301. Seriously, are the numbers to really clip into like the dynamism that happens with this informal power. People get wired around the issue of control. You ever hear people talk about control?
Yeah.
Particularly in close and tight marriages and relationships, attachments, family, especially if you're living with them. People get really, really weird about this issue of control. How does that interfere or interact with the balance that we're talking about, especially with informal power? That goes to one of our questions, right? How do informal, subtle forms of power show up between us? Influence, emotional leverage. You can just imagine all the ways with that, right?
I'll let you start. Let you try. Have that one out first.
No, I think that's when you look at the different people, and you can go with traumatic or abusive relationships, right? That's the
Mhm.
glaring one. Those are very
Right.
obviously like informal, but the person who's usually abusing is trying to think it's formal power. But then outside of that, I mean, just the dynamics of going to a family gathering. Like you ever go there and you see how one person could go from the leader of the house all of a sudden being timid because of a cousin that comes in.
Sure.
You don't realize it, right? So I think that's something in everything we do that when we look at it, every relationship's a little bit different, and we adjust as humans unless you're just narcissistic, you just don't care, you're just like, I want to control everyone. There's always going to be a shift. There's always going to be some sort of a subtle change from the power structure as more people get involved, come in and out, as you get into your habits. We've noticed in our house when Mason's home, he kind of does a weird power flex because he's so loud and noisy in his personality, right?
Mm.
He kind of takes over,
A
especially
power flex. That's what
Yeah,
he
yeah,
said. I
yeah.
love that term.
because and I don't. He
Nicely
doesn't
said.
do it on purpose. That's just his personality, and
That's
so
my glaring point. Yeah.
yeah, and so when he comes in, of course, my younger son, who's the younger sibling, is like he kind of comes down a notch because now he's the older brother's home, and it's not bad. Like, once again, it's just Mason's unintentional loud personality. We have to kind of adjust around it. He's picky. He does some stuff, but he's a great kid. It's just when he's not here for 4 months, it's nice. We just have to get used to him being back into the house. But once again, it's not intentional, and it's just the way that it is.
That's the really key. Kyle, I'm thinking like this is a little controversial, but I hope we get a short out of this. Mental note wherever the marker is. Because like look, when we get so into our abandonment fears or our engulfment fears, we get into fears about being controlled or being controlling or having controlling
Yeah.
behavior. And I'm going to maintain exactly like you said, Neil, that people don't intend to have that happen.
No.
I feel like that's you kind of you're operating out of a fear and you end up trying to control things that you can't control, which is definitely against what we try with the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I quote it all the time in my work, but like I don't even think necessarily a full-blown domestic violence abuser is intending to control. They're just so wildly in their own head and their fears that they fall into literally telling you what clothes you should wear,
Mhm.
thinking they're giving a deep suggestion at you, and then getting all negative if you don't follow it. It's controlling, but it's not with, as you said, your son intending. Does
Right.
that sound crazy?
No, it doesn't. I mean, because you just think of extroverts and introverts. You can be an extrovert at home, but you go out into the public situation, and then you can easily clam up and be that introvert because you don't want to interact with people. You put an introvert into an extrovert situation out in public, and maybe public speaking or something. You're going to like, hey, this audience has all the power. I don't have anything up here, and it's because they're not used to it. They don't understand. They don't know how to cope with it. They don't know how to you know mentally accept what position they're in. And to be honest, I mean, that I had before I started doing a lot of public speaking, that was one of the fears, is like, okay, I'm up here making sure I got to get all of my words out, and I'm thinking everything I got to do right.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know I can prep and I can do all this stuff, and being a fitness instructor at Y really helped calm some of that, because now I'm up there, I've practiced, I've done this, and now it taught me how to prepare to be in that
You
scenario.
can deal with the informal power.
Exactly. And yeah, it's different.
I gotta tell you, it's funny. This last time I did a professional all day conference, I went down to Jacksonville. Getting on a United States military base for a civilian is not easy. Can I just tell you? I didn't know the direct gate that I had to go to. I had to go into a building and do a little interview thing, fill out a form, whatever. I didn't. Nobody told me how to do that, all that, whatever. So I had a presentation supposed to start at like 8 o'clock. Yeah, it was 8 o'clock, and that was early. They moved it back from 7, thankfully. 8 o'clock in the morning, about 7:55. I'm calling the guy. I'm like, dude, I cannot get through your stuff. Like, I don't know what to do. He's like, oh, we'll come pick you up. So
Oh,
I I literally walk in the building or the room at like 8:06 with my bags on my on my shoulder, and I'm like, "You must be Charlie.
Mm.
You have the clicker, and you have the slideshow. Okay, boom, set my bags down and went there, went for it, man, just
Oh,
like
well.
that. No breathing, no coffee, no surveying the room.
Yep.
Just hit it, Kyle.
Yep. Sometimes sometimes that's better.
Well, the pacing in the parking lot was not very comfortable or better. I gotta tell you, I'm like, oh my god, what the heck? Yeah, that was that's where my brain went when you went to that. Let's move on because we got a lot to get to. Episode 330, we went to Willpower. Willpower was the second show that we talked about. We were kind of theming together like tips and different things with a little bit of substance abuse angle to it. And I think we did that, Neil, with this one where we talked about willpower. So three. Oh, I don't want to leave the the value of vulnerability and power dynamics. That's really where we landed on the other formal and informal power. And now I feel like we have to move on, but I want to mention like vulnerability is a bit of an antidote to any boundary challenges that you end up finding yourself in. Just let that sink in, right? But moving on to willpower. The three questions was when have I relied on willpower to push through something difficult or how did it work out? Two, how did I believe willpower is a reliable tool for a long term change? Or is it more of a short term strategy? That's an interesting question. Let me read it again, right? Do you believe willpower is a reliable tool for long term change? And then, or is it more of a short term strategy? Right. And then, third question, how do I respond when my willpower runs out?
Mhm.
I thought that we talked about getting wore down in that show, didn't we? Which was a different thought. And then what supports or systems kick in or fail to? Those were the three questions. What do you think about willpower? You like it? Love it? Hate it?
I think we all use it at some point
Yeah.
in our lives, right? Second question, can it be is it more long term or short term? I think it depends on the situation. So if you're trying to diet and trying to lose weight, well, guess what? That willpower's got to last. It's got to be a longevity type of thing.
Especially in the evenings
Yeah,
watching TV.
Halloween candy coming up, right?
Oh boy.
So willpower to stay away from it.
Hmm.
But then if for something like if you're doing something strenuous, like if you're doing a hard workout, you got to have that willpower to get through that workout for that hour or 30 minutes or whatever it is. So it's a short-term gain. But, you got long-term effects that come from it, but it's a short term to push yourself through that willpower, that exercise. So there's all kinds of things that it could be. You mentioned substance abuse when it comes, that's a big thing, right? To
Huge.
have or not have that drink, to take that pill or not take that pill. All of these things come to my mind. We've had, we've known people that have had to deal with that. Obviously, it's a struggle, and you think they overcome it, and they fall right back into it. And it's what we tend to see is you're back to that support system that you mentioned. They do not have that support structure around them. They fall into a place where they're by themselves all the time. They don't go hang out with their friends. They don't go golfing. They don't do anything. They don't go just ride in a car and have a conversation. And they tend to fall back into the problems.
So there's a lot there. I think I'm going to do to you what somebody told me was done to them. I want to be clear, there's no gun in the office. I am not using a firearm at the moment, but it's going to sound like I am. Not like in a bang, but so he's this therapist is sitting in a group therapy session in a rehab facility. There must have been the old guy in the back of the room, just like in an AA meeting, had been through rehabs, been through this before, and he understood what was going on. And they were doing a particular lesson that day on willpower and kind of really the dangers of this willpower because there is a lot of thought in a positive way as you're talking about, but in other ways it really has potential of setting people up as the belief. So if you imagine me with a gun and he walks up to the instructor, the therapist in the meeting,
Okay.
and he says, all right, John, we'll call him Kyle, I've got the gun pointed at you. Now I want you to use your willpower to take this away.
All right. Good point. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, it's you'll get shot if you try to take it away. The reality is there's a gun here. And so we mistaken, like in the substance abuse field, did you get a sense, Neil, of John and I kind of combining with our substance abuse therapist brain on the dangers of willpower when you were with us that show? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think I remember that because that's a big part of it. I
It's a
mean,
huge part.
it's yeah.
It's a huge part, and it really has, I think, elements of really. I'm going to use a hard word to make the point that, it really gets into damning people and being stuck into a spot and they're at fault and desperately feeling full of shame anyway, as it is, because they don't have enough of the oomph to do what it is that we try to do when we're working out
Right.
or dealing with a habit. Or we talked a lot on this episode with food and dieting and weight and all. But with this reality, I mean, you cannot just change the reality that's in our face, whether it's someone holding a gun or the genetics of our body or the reality of our various physical problems.
Okay, I got something to go against your gun idea,
Okay.
right? Okay, if once again you brought a gun to me or you were aiming a gun at me, I would get shot. Now, if I was a trained special forces, if I was a trained cop, and I knew how to disarm someone because of your training,
Yep.
that's different. So if you think about your willpower, if you build systems and you do things to help you make it through your with willpower, use that as a small piece. That's a different outcome than you coming to me being hopefully my willpower will get me through. So the idea is willpower is a thing that helps you temporarily.
Right.
It's all about systems. It's about habits you build. It's about all those
Yep.
different pieces. Willpower is similar to your muscles, is that you can start great. I can make it a week without ice cream. Now 14 days in, my willpower muscle gives in, and it's like that.
It gets tired.
I'm not gonna talk about the ice cream I bought last night, but that's okay.
Right.
That's good ice cream. But that's the same idea, right? No, my willpower alone won't get that gun out of your hands. But if I spend time and I have systems and I have things in place and I learn
Mhm.
how to,
Build the skill.
Mhm.
then that's different.
Yeah.
So that's the same idea that you have to look at it from a willpower. Willpower is great temporarily. It is not a long term. You are not going to grit your teeth and make it through 2 years of sobriety. You're not gonna.
Just by grabbing
You
it. Yeah.
have to have a system in place. You have to have something through those pieces. And so I just kind of wanted to,
Absolutely.
that was an interesting analogy. I'm like, let me kind
I,
of put a spin on
I
that.
like that because it helps you to build it. I mean, and that's what you were talking about, Kyle. And I think that's where people get mixed into like this absolutely helps you get discipline.
Oh yeah,
It helps you make
100%.
decisions. It definitely helps you to start the process. But then, I mean, what happens with January 1st New Year's resolutions? We're coming up on a holiday season. We make fun of it every year.
Oh, we see it every day in January at the gym.
Right?
I mean, they start great. They start out strong. 2 weeks later, those people are gone.
I'm proud to say this January is not going to be my first gym thing. I've been there. I've been there, Jake. I've been there, Jake. As a matter of fact, I'm even going to Jake's on Wednesdays. And I went into the other room and did resistance training on the day that I do my row machines. Just
Yep.
props. Because that has been so routine now. It's been built into my schedule. It's been
Yep.
built into my understanding. Like, if I'm not on the row machine on Wednesday nights, it's weird. But that doesn't happen immediately.
Well, and I always hear 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If you build a routine for 2 weeks and you keep that routine going for 2 weeks, then it now becomes part of your system. That
What's
you
the phrase? It takes 7 days to make a habit, or so? What's the
some
14 days, or I forget what the
I
number
forgot what
is.
it is, but
What is it? 30 days to make a habit into
yeah,
30 days doing a routine to make it a habit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
so
thing.
there's all kinds of things. I mean, you can put that towards. I mean, even stopping drinking soft drinks, or for me, it was sweet tea. I'm a Southern boy. I grew up on sweet tea,
Oh, wow.
and so now to give up the sweet tea at in my later stages in life, I mean, yeah, that's huge.
Nah,
But it,
my stepdad's same.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I did it, and my teeth are happier for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that your point, Neil, is really on point in that the habit design is where willpower can help. The developing gradual goals so that when you are
Hmm.
placed in a situation, then your training can
Yeah.
kick in and you don't have to even think about it.
Right.
Willpower isn't even a part of it then because you don't have to think. You click into what you do.
Well, and I think when I teach my classes, I have the expectation when any new person comes into my class, and I think this is you can use this kind of logic. Do not try to be where I'm at when I'm teaching the class
Mm.
because you'll fail.
Mm.
Now start the first class, kind of learn what it's about. Next time you come back, pick one thing you want to do better. just one, whatever that is. If it's, doing better in biceps, doing better in triceps, doing a kick better in kickboxing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Do one thing. The next time, come back, do another thing. Pick another thing better. And now you're starting to build that system as we've been talking about.
I love that. I love that a lot, honestly, because I think about that in my newer experiences with yoga. Yoga's hard,
Yoga
okay?
is hard.
That stuff is not easy. And you fall into like, oh, I should be able to put my head behind my head and grab the
Right.
toe like this lady's doing on TV. Like, wow.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's not wise, right?
But you can use that same type of mentality in anything you do. I mean, anything you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it goes back to and to be more successful, you have to find easy wins or quick wins,
Mhm.
right? If you get to the point where if you I've done some go work events and the one thing they tell you is when you do those events with people, it's like you do what you can do in the event, right? If you want to carry the log longer, you carry the log longer, you do those certain things. But when you look at that, if I tried to push too hard and I'm dead, well, I'm not helping anyone. But I
Right.
think if you do enough that you can succeed and get my goal for this first go work event is I want to just be at the end still at least doing something, right? I want to go to that class and at least make it 45 minutes, even if I'm just like walking
Right.
for part of it, right?
Right.
Because as you make those goals, you get better self-esteem, which will kind of actually help build your willpower because you're not sitting there thinking the whole time, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. It's I can do this, and that helps then extend that willpower, the little engine that could, right?
That is
I
my
think I can.
favorite childhood fable. I love the little engine that could.
So that's important, and having the systems in place where if you feel you're stumbling, the system helps you, keeps you from falling, and it also takes a lot of that pressure off of yourself, right? If you're always getting beat up because I can never stay off, I can never stop drinking because I always mess up, I always screw up, right? Now, if you have systems in place, like hey, you call your buddy, hey, I'm having issues. They're like, hey, let's go out to the golf course, let's go for a drive, let's go meet at Barnes and Nobles, right? That takes it off of you, and then you basically succeed. So then that helps your willpower because you're like, oh, last time I did this, I can
Yeah.
do it again. And so it's really helpful with willpower is once you start getting to that point where you really are stretching your willpower, what is that break you're going to take to then be able to then, okay, I can stop using my willpower muscle. It's my system, it's
Yep.
my
You
pieces.
switch over to the
And then you can do it again when you have that issue again. And the goal is that as you extend your habits or you're trying to break a habit, you're using less willpower muscle and you're relying more on the systems.
routines.
Kind of like
and
breathing.
systems.
It becomes natural at that point.
So I'm listening to you. And check this out. Like I want to combine comments or even shows, right? So pair these two things together. What you're talking about there is super cool. And I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, so do formal relationships or informal relationships work better to build off of the willpower that we have in the beginning and then move forward? How many times have you had a workout buddy that didn't end up being a long-term workout buddy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
fails, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's an informal relationship.
Right.
I'm willing to bet I have a personal trainer, Jake. He's awesome. Fit View, by the way. And you can look him up. And I know that it's a formal relationship because I have given him formal power. I hired him to be my trainer. And that has, I would argue, a whole lot more consistency built in. So can we say that a formal relationship builds more of what you're talking about, Neil, than an informal relationship is going to tend to be?
Would you say that a sponsor at AA is a formal relationship?
I was thinking that as well too. Yes, it is a formal relationship that you basically do the same thing. You ask someone to be a sponsor, and the sponsor has sort of set criterion and what they do. It's a known role.
So would you say that if you have someone that you're really, really interested in holding you accountable, could you turn an informal relationship into a formal relationship just by setting boundaries and expectations?
This is the
I
question,
would
right?
think
and doing
so.
those things because that's one of those things you would think, right?
It's
If I have a buddy that I do a lot of stuff with, and him and I are doing like 100-day challenges, 100 days to break or set habits, right? Because we
yeah,
found 30 days is just not enough. I get to day 31, I'm like, ah, screw it, I made it, great,
yeah, we're
back in
done.
the ice cream. So we have this thing we're doing 100-day challenges, but him and I have built pretty much this almost formal relationship. Like, here's my challenges, here's my challenge. How you doing? right? Where's your problems? What's going on? So we built this from an informal one. It's almost become formal outside of
Almost, but it still sounds informal because no one has the authority. Like Jake has the authority to
no, but
work
we
with
give
me
each
that
other
day or
crap
not work with.
if we fail, right?
Well,
There,
yeah, but that's still on an
but could it
informal
become
basis.
formal, right? We could literally sign like a contract and say, I'm going to be there for you and turn it into a formal relationship. Because just
That
even
gets
like,
closer.
right, because even a sponsor could fail,
Yeah,
even
Sure.
though it's formal.
100%.
Your
Sure.
trainer could fail,
Yeah,
right? Those are things. So it still goes back to both sides have to agree and have to be really committed to create that formal relation, formal power, right? You, like I said, it's almost a contract that you build. So if you're really concerned about it, you almost could take that step as long as the person you're building the contract with.
there's definitely some fun things there to think about.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that absolutely is cool. But to wrap this up a little bit with willpower, we want to get to the idea of mindfulness. I mean, this is a key element. We all have heard of mindfulness and stuff now. I guess I'm getting to know your clinical knowledge, Kyle. Mindfulness. How? I mean, that's a total buzzword nowadays. People use the hell out of that word, right? Do you know what that refers to or how that
The
works?
mindfulness,
Yeah,
clinical mindness, or just mindfulness
just
in general?
mindfulness in the way people talk about it.
No, I'd love to hear your thought
Oh,
on it.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's just really the here and now, being in the moment and paying attention to the moment. Like
yeah,
you're actually encouraging mindfulness when you say, "Hey, just focus on one thing that you're doing and improve that." You're being mindful, being in the moment. Don't compare yourself to me. Just
yeah,
do this and be with that in this moment. That's exponentially helps our elements of
yeah,
willpower.
yeah. And I tell that to my team when they go to customers and like, don't be typing on a laptop. Go old
You
school.
got to be here.
You can write notes, but don't be typing on a laptop or notes electronically, please.
Humanity needs to learn how to deal with computers. Yes, absolutely.
Translate them later, but yeah, be in the
Yeah.
moment.
So another one of these types of things would be anger management,
Yeah,
right? Uh, and I have this thing that I've gotten reacquainted with. It's called a lifesaver technique, and it really is demonstrating mindfulness and the power of mindfulness that helps you to get into your muscles, Neil, of willpower. People get really impulsive in anger, right? And we will explode. And I've worked with people that like get into fights before they know it, very, very short fuse. And so the idea is you literally just take a lifesaver, the hard lifesaver, and you put it in your mouth. And the rule is, the process is, you don't say anything, you don't do anything until you are done with the lifesaver.
And they can't chew it, I'm sure.
And so there's a few different elements to this, and that
important
is
part.
one, your anatomical system and your limbic system is interpreting sweets, and uh, that is a calming, just biologically a calming thing. We don't do chewing because that is aggressive, and the whole suckling response is ingrained in your limbic system as well. That de-escalates, that gets calm. Thirdly, like just time.
Yeah,
It takes time for you to then sit back, be mindful. I'm in this space before I punch this guy in the throat. Let me just do my lightsaber. And you get through the pinnacle of anger where you're not really able to think well. You've come down, and now you can get back more into an objective state because this happens so fast, right? You go up, you come back down, and you're like, why did I just hit this guy? So the lifesaver technique is kind of a cool thing, but it's all about mindfulness, being in the moment,
hmm,
building your willpower ability so it'll catch back up. You're giving it like a 5-minute break to let your willpower muscle rest. What happens on the second rep, Kyle, as opposed to the first rep when you're lifting weights?
yeah. You do a whole lot better,
It's
typically, right?
crazy.
Yeah, right?
Explain what I meant just said, because I think that's on point, and I still, that blows my mind. It
Yeah,
messes with me every time he does it to me.
yeah. It really just. I mean, the first rep is you're trying to figure out what to do, and then the second rep, you've kind of got a better a technique, and you're able to do it more successful.
I just thought
Is-
it because I was older and my body just not used to moving yet.
yeah,
I've noticed in my workouts, like my third round is like,
Ugh.
why is this easier than my first round? Like, yeah,
We always start with light weights and stuff, and and the reason why is really just to kind of get those muscles going, right? You get
yep.
oxygen flowing, get blood flowing, get those kinds of things,
It's so
and it
funny.
makes a
Jake
difference.
talks about this so intelligently. He'd be way over our head. He said something, and I can't recall, but it's something about when you're forcing, you're straining, and you push a muscle. It's literally pushing the blood flow out, and then it comes back in, and so you get like fresh nutrients literally to your muscle or something like that. So that the second rep, that's why you can literally do more.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it is crazy.
I love science, though. All right, we need to move on. Okay, so episode 331, how do we control mental health and substance abuse? That was what we landed on for the show. The 3 questions: what aspects of mental health or substance use do you feel you already have some control over, and which feel completely out of reach? People feel pretty desperate sometimes about depression, their anxiety, the what have you. When have you tried to tough it out, quote unquote, in mental health or addiction, which tends to happen? Relapse, burnout, avoidance is what the result is when you try to just tough it out. We were talking about that a little bit with this last show. And then what kind of support structures or tools would make the idea of control feel safer or more sustainable to you? You know what drives me nuts, Kyle? People make the statement like, well, you feel the way you feel. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Can't do anything about that. You just
Yep.
feel the way you feel.
Yep. Heard that before.
You know what my response is? My entire industry, history, and present is going geared towards like helping us
Feelings, right?
figure out how to deal with the way we feel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it makes my head blow up.
This is interesting, though. I mean, a lot of these things that we kind of discussed in the last from the willpower thing is just very interesting to understand how the mental health aspect and the substance abuse, that willpower, going back to that willpower,
Hmm.
getting to that next step, you know,
How do we do
how
it?
do we progress, right? How do we progress forward and move forward into a successful outcome?
Should we try the game, Neil, that Victoria, John, and I played in the middle of the show towards the end?
I don't think we have time for that.
Uh-oh.
I I'm afraid you would win, and I would be embarrassed. I'm kind of glad. Kyle would probably smoke us all. Tell
I
tell us
don't know
what
about that.
tell us what we did.
They basically went around, one person at a time to say habits or things you can do to help basically with your mental health. Things that you can do to help you check yourself back in, to, self-care tips. Like they were basically just going one right after another to see who could either repeat or come up, not come up with something. So yeah, so it's the idea of like how many things can you do to help your mental health? Like
Yeah.
there's so many different ways
Wow.
that you can do it. And just so many different personalities, right? It's the idea that some people want to go read a book, other people might want to go paint, some people
Yeah.
would drive their car, which
Work
I
out.
know, yeah, work out,
Go play golf. Yeah, there's all kinds of things.
It was really fun, Kyle, because I mean, obviously we're therapists, and I had a little bit of angst with that thing. And I know you see Victoria and
Hmm.
John especially, like he trips out with that sort of thing. I guess I pop people cold and whatever, and you're like, oh God, I'm not prepared. How do you develop a list of things that you do to literally help cope with your emotions? And we're on the spot going one to the next,
Yeah.
me, John, Victoria, me, John, Victoria, to see who would, you know, run out of things and thus the loser would be. I 5 seconds pass. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point because I just started a new one a couple weeks ago. I get up in the morning and I start playing is Sudoku. And it's like, okay, just to kind of get my brain going, right? Is
Mm.
really nothing more than that. And it's just like, well, I kind of like doing this in the morning.
Sudoku's fun.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. So that's kind of something new that's just popped up. It's like, oh, okay.
We
But
didn't have any trouble filling the time. Victoria, John, and I just kept
yeah,
going and
yeah.
going and going and going.
But it seems like, I found something like that, and I'm sure everybody else is like that. Is just find something new to, engage your brain a little bit.
And here's one of the big distinctions. I mean, you're landing on something that I call self care, and I coin. I think I've coined the term in my brain like it's the cornerstone of mental health. So that's just fun, relaxing, enjoyable activities that are not self-destructive in any way and they're not work-related
Right.
tasks. Now, I've said that in therapy sessions with people like thousands of times, I'm sure, over my career, because we've always known self-care is really that important. And so these are hobbies. These are these things that you do. I'm playing Envoy this most recently. It's like another computer game on my phone that takes way too much time. You have responsibilities to
Right.
accomplish for the day. It's actually stressful, but it's fun, right? To
Right.
just settle down and settle in.
And
Sporting
not think about
events,
things.
books,
Right.
dancing, these are hobbies, right? But there's so much more in how do we manage actually what we feel. Cornerstone of mental health is self care, though. What do you think, Neil? Toria, John, or I uh, tallied the most?
I don't remember who won that one. Who? Because I feel like someone said the same thing that someone else has said. That was the end of it, right? That's the rule. So
I think we just ran out of time.
Probably. Yeah. But no, and I think that's important because I think that's the thing you have to understand. It's just because people's, and I was thinking about this because when I give my self-care, Chris judges me. He's like, "Ah, you can't count a walk with your wife as a self-care, or you can't do this as a self-care." I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
Because
I see.
I don't like watching like sports like 20 hours over a weekend. Like that's not my thing. And I think it's really, really important to understand that like whatever you do to help you control your mental health is really it's an individual result. Like it's everyone's going to be different. Once again, I gave the example.
100%.
There are some people who actually love to drive, but
Driving is a great item,
but
self-care.
I
That's
know
one of mine.
people who hate driving.
Oh
I
yeah,
can think of a handful just off the top of my head,
I just
and
relax. I
and
am
I
zoned
I do
out to the
too. I
world.
have no problems driving. Now I have my friend who I do challenger with. He's a road rager. My wife, she's a road rager. That's
She
something
is?
she really doesn't like
Oh
driving.
wow,
Yeah.
never knew that.
Well, it's
Okay.
because they're idiots and they don't know how to drive and they're being inconsiderate.
Alicia
That's
is amongst a bunch of idiots out there. I understand.
and it
Yeah.
drives her crazy because there's a riskiness. But I think that's important. You find what works for you, and anything there is. There's thousands of things you can do. You just
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to find what works for you, and that's the thing. Because you always say, well, they say I need to journal and wake up at 5 o'clock and do yoga and play Sudoku and blah blah. I'm like, no, you do what works for you. You sleep until
Mhm.
6:37 if it comes down to it. Do what you need to in your morning routine to get yourself in the best mental position for that day, right? I've started reading in the morning. Now, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis is not a book that you really can
Yeah,
get a lot of at 5:30 in the morning
that's a
because I'm
lot.
not quite awake, but I've read other books. So I'm reading less pages in the morning because of that. But most of the other books I read in the morning, and I found that that's great for me to not get on my phone first thing in the morning, right? Because I play all the stupid little games that I have, and
Yeah.
but that's what works. So you find what works for you, what
Right.
helps your mental health, helps you get past those pieces, because that's super important.
Yeah.
Kind of to play off that, Neil, and go back in that. Yeah, the reason why I give you grief is this. There's actually three cares. If you want to go deeper on it, we just said self care, the cornerstone of mental health, but then there's relationship care, and you're doing that
Hmm.
with people that you're in relationship with. Same thing as self care, uh, but it's with somebody that you're building things up with. And then there's physical care. And so if you notice, Neil, a lot of the cool things you do to uncharge, to unwind, they're all in the realm of taking care of physical. A lot of them. Is
Mm-hmm.
that a fair statement?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to go do the rucking. I'm going to do the challenge, the push-ups for the day, or what have you. And I feel like it is important to really do the Sudoku of the world. The really like I will sit at home. I got a jigsaw puzzle that's taken over my dining room table. It's just 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but that 10 minutes, my brain is just doing coming down. Instead of like the physical or the relational, we just want the brain to de-escalate. That's
Yep.
that's why I give you grief, but I love
Yeah.
you for it anyway.
Yeah. See, I'm bad about waking up in the middle of the night. My brain starts going immediately,
Oh
right? And then I'm like,
yes,
okay, I got to calm it down.
right.
And so I turn something on them, in my ear just to drown things out. It's like,
Hmm. Settle it down.
yeah,
It's a very, very common deal, and but it's hard,
it is.
to do something like deep breathing or meditating or using a mantra. Those are things at night that are good, or stretch, tension release combinations with breathing so that you kind of settle down,
Yep.
or guided imagery. These are not self-care items. These are actually like things that John, Victoria, and I were just like rapid fire listing that are actually like strategies. So we've got self-care, relational care,
Hmm.
physical care, and then like strategies and whatnot. And we just want to try a couple.
Yeah. And it's all about self awareness, too. It's like, what works for you?
100%. 100%. One thing I want to mention before we get out of here and go to the last show is the Through a Therapist Eyes, Re-Understanding Your Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. I want to put in here to really kind of highlight a book that I wrote, not because I wrote the book, because it fits with like legit, how do we control this stuff? What do we do? And I took all of these chapters and whittled them down into four people. If you're a long time listener to the show, you heard that before, but do you remember all four of them? Right? If you've heard me describe that's how we came up with these, do you remember all four of them? You can say them with me if you do. You listening at home. You have focus points, are really important. Action points are really important. Stop and reflect on emotions so that we're aware of ourselves is a third important area. And then fourth, value self. And all of the chapters that I wrote, Kyle, fit into one of those four categories. So I ended up with like four main elements of like how to really control our mental health. I think it's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah.
Value self, stop and reflect on emotion, action points, and focus points is just what I naturally fell into identifying. I'm gonna do the same thing with the marriage book too, but just haven't
There
done
you go.
it. Right. Closing thoughts on these: how do we control substance abuse, mental health? Episode 331. Because of time, we're gonna move to episode 332, and I thought this is Kyle's show, man. This is Kyle's show. Elderly dating. Not because you're in the dating room and you're elderly. This is not why.
Oh,
This
so
is
I'm
just
elderly now.
yeah. Not
I've crossed
that's
that
not
threshold.
I don't want you to take that. Your wife's also here. She's about ready to hit me. But it is episode 333 and something weird's gonna happen, right? I don't know. Okay, so the reason why I say that is because this is techno land. Okay.
Oh yeah.
3 questions. How does dating, or what does dating to you mean now in this stage of life? Companionship, romance, new beginnings. What's really going on there for you? And 2, how do you feel about online apps based dating as an older adult or as a partner of someone dating later in life? And then thirdly, what boundaries or safeguards? There's where you shine, Kyle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What boundaries or safeguards do you currently use or wish you had when pursuing new relationships? That's not just online. That's just,
Yeah.
meeting people in person and stuff. So
First off, I'm glad I don't have to deal with the dating scene. Oh my gosh, heard the horror stories.
yeah.
Yeah, I can.
It's
Yeah.
not so bad, I think. People talk it up worse than it probably is. I'll let you know. We'll see how this goes. By the way, this is a horrible show for me, Neil. I'm just realizing this is where, this is where I got this idea that
This
Neil
is
is
why
like
you're so
attacking
sensitive.
me.
Yeah, this is why you're sensitive.
This is it's a little raw, man. Yeah, he's like we do a shrink wrap up, I think, right? And you know that what it is
Yeah.
now. We compete. I have a friendly competition to review the show and see what's going on. This Joker comes on the wrap up show. What show was that actually, Neil? That wasn't elderly dating,
No,
was it?
it was this one.
It was
If I'm
elderly.
thinking of what you're thinking, yeah, it was this show.
Yeah. It's some international podcast. And so, okay, so if you're of this age to that age, Chris is like he's ready to just go to the email, contact it through therapist. I'm like, what are you doing right now? This is so not even funny. This is so not cool. Like, I haven't gotten any emails, by the way, yet. I have not.
I tried.
You tried. Thanks, Neil, for. Thanks. All right, somebody take it away. What do we talk about for real in this show?
I think the interesting part of the dynamics, like I said, we've talked about, and I'm dealing with that with someone I know in my life. But I think it's the interesting part from an elderly dating standpoint is one, the dynamics of technology. Elderly people just don't understand what's out there. They
Correct.
don't understand a lot of the things are AI driven now. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things
A
that
lot of deep fakes.
when they give someone access or they talk to them
Mhm.
about certain things, they don't understand what ramifications have with those pieces. So there's a lot of stuff to that. And I think the other part that we came across was if your parent is dating again and you're a child and you're trying to help them understand, hey, there's something suspicious about this. You know how hard it is for that parent
Yes.
to be
Yes.
told by their child that they're doing something wrong or there's a risk. It's the parenting being parented.
Informal
Yeah.
power of a parent just kind of can't tolerate that.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was a couple things in that dynamic that's really an interesting thing. But once again, elderly dating is just like any other dating. You still have to be careful who you talk to. You be careful, set your boundaries. You have to go for what you want versus what they want. Like it's still the same stuff. But the issue is I feel like some of the elderly dating, because they've lived a life, I feel like it's the opposite of, well, it's kind of the same idea of a teenager. Teenagers know everything because they're so smart. Elderly people know everything because they've lived a life of experience, right? When really they're just as gullible as anyone else. So
Go to Kyle because I know he's got to have a lot to say with this because I think you have a lot of experiences with it just in the technical world. But to really highlight a point you made that is absolutely, I find anecdotally very true in all the people I've talked about, and it's kind of amazing. Like we diminish the emotional experiences that like teens have. It's like, oh, that's so cute. They got that cute little puppy love thing going on, and now they're sitting there with a broken heart. They're sitting there
Yeah.
like suffocating inside themselves. Like, how do I go on? Yeah, they had been married for 43 years and their spouse died, but those feelings are the same when
Right.
you're in elderly years
Yeah.
or teen years. or midlife. Like, you think those emotions are different because of your life experience, and what I'm here to tell you, the biological experience of the emotion is like the same.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, when you talk about the emotions, that's, when I think about the elderly, that's what they're preying on. When I'm
Yeah.
looking for somebody that's going to take advantage of somebody, they're preying on those emotions. So they're looking for those people that may be posting on social media or that, through a friend of a friend of a friend, right? Kind of know about this. And to your point, the elderly, they don't understand that technology as well as you or I. And so now they're easily falling prey to it because they're seeing something. Okay, and they got an alert. Somebody told them that they're susceptible. Oh, now this person helped them out. Now they start building a relationship, starting to have conversations. Now it goes further.
Can I push at that and probably be wrong?
Sure.
I want to push at that, and I'm probably wrong. But the reason I want to push at that is because I would normally just find myself disagreeing, like, oh yeah, totally. We all have examples of this, and it's something that burns inside of me when somebody goes on Facebook and does romance fraud. Kyle,
Well,
I just really want to throw
you
paint at
heard
that
about
person.
the big bust they did over in Europe, right?
No,
Oh yeah, there's a
they
big.
got him.
They as a what was it, a week or two ago, they made a big bust for this ring. They were doing relationship type of fraud, and it was I
Love
forgot the
that.
number, but it was huge.
Love that. That's fantastic. Because it's just awful.
And back to the kind of thing you sent me last night. A
Yeah,
lot of it was being driven by bots.
bots. Right.
Bots,
Just not
not
even.
even people.
So here's the thing. I wonder. I think we threw elderly people under the bus. I think they can really function pretty well on Facebook. They've kind of figured out how to post, and it took them slower to kind of get into it as a generation. But I think us Gen Xers think that we're all technically savvy or whatnot.
Oh
Neil's the
no.
first person to tell you I'm not. Look at his face, like already. He knows I'm not. I don't know. Obviously, when elderly people have diminished abilities, we're not talking about diminished capacity for memory and processing. That is a little different to be taken advantage of. But Kyle, I don't know that we're less susceptible to your fraud elements at 60 or at 40 or at 30 or at 75. Is there much variance there?
I think in some regards yes, in some regards no, because even people our age, right? They can be emotionally down, and somebody come in and build them back up, right?
Right.
So that could definitely happen. In terms of some other people that are, I guess, more sure of themselves, they're gonna be a little bit more timid about trusting somebody initially, where the elderly, they're easily targeted. They prey on them
Right.
because they know they have money maybe stashed away in retirement or whatever. And they're looking for those easy targets. You and I may not be an easy target because we're going to be a little bit apprehensive of, yeah, I don't know who you are kind of thing. Where now they're starting to trust them a little bit more just by saying a few things. Hey, looking through the Facebook post or whatever social media post that they may have done, and says, "Oh, I'm sorry that your dog died. My dog died as well. What kind of dog?" And they start building that bond, kind of thing.
There's a bond and a relationship
Sure.
development that would be different, but I don't know. Even when we did the fraud show with you, we all literally had stories
Oh
of
yeah.
personal experience with that. And your wife literally got a phone call before the show was over of a new event. And I don't think that person was elderly. Were they? She's
No,
shaking her head
no.
no, right? So I just wonder, if we are more into, I don't know, we're all at risk.
Well, and especially Neil mentioned it with the AI aspect of it, the deep fakes. They're they're blurring the lines between reality and fiction
Well, that the
a
person
lot.
person that I talked to, she's like, "Well, I talked to the celebrity while he was on shoot. They literally had the camera while I
Right.
was talking to them, and like
Yeah.
it's fake. It's not real." Oh no, it really was him. And I talked to one of the guys before, and I'm like, "Dude, you're a black guy from Africa. I can tell from." And like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're."
Oh,
But like, so I don't know if they have something in the Facebook Messenger that disguises their voice. Because I mean, she's supposedly talking to an Irish musician, and I'm like, you're definitely not an Irish musician. Like, so, but there's tools, there's things where you can mask voices and do video. Like,
I guess maybe we're
sad.
not equally as
30
susceptible.
seconds.
We're about ready to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, 30 seconds of voice. That's really typically all they need to build a convincing deep fake.
And then once they get that trust, that's where it becomes. Then that's the
Correct.
fight. That's the part we're fighting right now.
Right.
They've ingrained and never.
Because what they'll do is they'll do one small thing for them, and here's that trust that starts to build, right? And then it's like, oh well, I want to do this other thing, but I need something from you first.
Yeah.
And
And you
that's
get
what
real
happens.
money that goes into your wired
Sure.
bank account. They give you, they give you $100. It's
Yeah.
sitting there like, okay, great. It's $100. Yeah. Now you need to give me 10 and we'll do the box.
Yeah, right.
That's somebody I know is going through that right now.
Or hey, we're gonna. I want to meet you. I want to come in person, but I don't have enough funds for the airfare. Can you spot me?
Yeah,
Right.
that's an easy pop.
Right.
I just get fearful about the way humanity is interacting with computers, and we're not emotionally in tune with it. And I feel like the baby boomers, I guess those would be the elderly, they've essentially gotten in, and they're definitely not native, and I feel like they're lost. I think Gen X, we've gotten in, and we're only barely figuring out how yucky social media is to our psychology. I feel like we're almost lost because it's going to get worse, and before we really figure it out, like we're going to be older and out of play. And the millennials, I'm sorry, we have screwed them up. Us Gen Xers, it's our fault. What y'all, we did that, and they're not getting out. I do have a lot of hope in Gen Z because they are the first generation of all of humanity that has had this their whole life. And they see this weird, crazy stuff as like the kid stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need a Snapchat
Starting to
streak
see that as
anymore.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, our kids. I think I'm having a lot of hope on because I don't know this. People get took. You don't have to be elderly
Easily.
to get took.
Easily.
Yeah, that was a lot of shows, Neil.
It was, but that makes up for the previous month where we missed one. So
True that. All right, closing thoughts, closing comments. Awesome rabbit hole. Appreciate that. Just do anything AI, and you're right. I'm going to be in love with you. So
I'll remember that.
I'm deeply down a rabbit hole with that. Closing thoughts, comments though. Neil, Kyle, ready to get out of here, get something to eat.
Loved it. Loved all the shows that we talked about today. Loved hearing how we can deal and help each other through things, whether it's through typical willpower, getting through a scenario,
There's a
to a
little community in these, wasn't there?
substance abuse or anything. Yeah, everything. Even you can go back to the dating app, right? Hey, have that accountability partner, right, to make sure that you're doing the right thing.
On the dating app? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You lost me.
So like, hey, Chris, you think this is for real? Do you, I mean, this person really
Once
wants
again,
to do this,
don't be
right?
He's totally going to be checking my WhatsApp
Right.
now. Thank you, Kyle. I am calling you at 2 a.m. next weekend. Appreciate the offer, brother.
So there you go.
That's true. That they have people that just don't be alone.
Yeah.
Don't be isolated. Right.
Yeah. Because then you fall more. You're susceptible, I think, to be more.
I don't think you're
gullible
too
there.
sophisticated to not be falling prey. I'm telling you,
It happens.
it's wild. Neil, closing thoughts.
great month.
Good.
I like the fact that you're theming these things together every month, and it's been great build up. So
I'm trying.
So yeah.
Hey, I do have a little bit of a tip. Neil doesn't know this yet, but we've scheduled a show on the 13th with someone that we could talk about my newest favorite topic. I'll just leave that as the cliffhanger. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about a link for her, but we'll tell you more about that soon. Happy Halloween. Listen, be safe. This is October the 30th. We got lots of people giving chocolate candy. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Make good decisions, young men, young women, and we will